Welcome to the ACE podcast, Authenticity, Consciousness, and Entrepreneurship. You might have noticed that we've played around with our little lingo here, our acronym. It's usually called Authentic Conscious Entrepreneurs. But Christina and I have noticed that the conversations is breaking the boundaries of just being entrepreneurial conversation. And being a far deeper conversation, not that it's not entrepreneurial anymore, it's still an entrepreneurial person, but still, is interested or yearning for some of this realizations or wisdom, if you like. But so to change it up a bit, Christina, we said, let's just, instead of calling it Authentic Conscious Entrepreneurs, we can call it Authenticity, Consciousness, and Entrepreneurship. So you might have noticed a little change there. And again, proof that we are making this up as we go along. No plan. We're just watching the plan unfold. But we've been breaking some boundaries by going pretty deep. And I know Christina has we just met 15 minutes ago, and she just told me before we started recording that we're going to be talking about love, and so there's breaking some boundaries. So let's welcome our it is the people's co-host as well, not just my co-host. You are the voice for the people, Christina Tyndall from Los Angeles in the US. Welcome. How are you?
Thanks, Zoghi. I am good. And yes, I've really been feeling it's time to talk about love today. It's come up on quite a few episodes about the real love. And I feel like I just want to clear up for our audience what you mean by that. I know you've touched on it, but I want to hear from you how people often misinterpret love, and then also what is real love.
We're going straight there, are we? No warm up, no foreplay. Like we're going straight there,
right to it.
Like just throw me out there and tell us what it is, Amir.
Yeah, no, I mean,
fair enough.
If you feel to jump right into it, we can. But I can give some more context as well. No,
it's okay.
Okay, you've got something to share.
It's well, let's see. So, let's start with what the general public, the masses, the majority, whatever you want to call it, associate that word love with. And there's nothing wrong with this. This is, I think, every human being's interpretation of love. And it's only because it is our most human. Besides oxygen and nutrients and food and all that jazz, like without love, you wouldn't have the willingness to exist, to live, to be alive, to be yourself. I remember this story of, I don't know how true this story is, but I heard it a long time ago, and it was a story of an experiment they did on children. This was in a Nazi concentration camp, and you guys can look it up yourself. I don't have all the data about it, but I shared this story once on stage and many years ago, so I don't have all that information with me. But basically, what happened in this Nazi concentration camp is they took the children, newborn children that were, born in the camp or newly born, away from their parents, and they did this experiment where they gave they gave both groups of children the human necessities, food, oxygen, whatever, all that stuff to keep them alive. But one group of babies, they didn't give any affection. They didn't give any love. So they didn't hold it. They didn't, touch it. They didn't sing to it, etc. All right. And the other group, they did. They gave it affection. In other words, they gave it love. All right. And in this experiment, from my understanding, is that the people, or the babies, I should say, that didn't receive any affection, didn't receive any love, actually died. And I know this is a horrible story and a horrible experiment. I get that. But isn't it interesting that the babies that didn't receive any love died? So I just want to put it out here straight away that it is a human right, but it's also a human necessity for us to have love. And if we feel disconnected from whether that's an external love that we're receiving or a disconnected from ourselves and receiving love from ourselves, because the moment you feel disconnected from you, you feel disconnected from self-love. The will to survive, the will to live, the will to be alive starts to dissipate. People begin to lose that. And it's clear, from this experiment that, well, without love, you wouldn't be here. And that's why I always say that. So, I'm about to take this conversation far deeper to talk about the real love. What I've just described there is what I commonly refer to as the need of love. And there's a difference between experiencing love, which I call real love, versus, experiencing the need of love. In other words, the need of love is you need it because it's a human necessity, and then you receive it. But what happens is that love is very different. Because you needed it, when you receive it, you don't experience its fullness. You experience the need of it. They say that we have two energies. I personally feel there's only one. But in our duality, we have two energies, and everything else stems from these two energies. And that is love and fear. Okay? Now, the thing about love is love. Fear is need. Fear is avoidance. Fear is it's something that creates sometimes you're avoiding, sometimes you're driven by it, but it's always there's the within fear there's always this common word that we could use, or emotion that we could use. It's need. So the thing is, what I'm trying to describe here is that when you are experiencing the need of love, you're receiving it from fear. In other words, and it's a little bit, just hang in there with me, because you need the love, and need comes from fear. Love doesn't need. I understand that as human beings, it's a necessity for us to have love, right? But that necessity comes from need. So every time you get that love, it's like you need more. And again, you think, well, what's wrong with wanting more? Nothing. And of course, there's no lack of love, right? Unless you need it. Because when you need something, the moment you receive it, you're receiving love, but you're receiving the need of it. You're not the only person who can experience or receive love completely is the person who has love, who doesn't need it. Do you understand? That's the real love. And I'm going to go into that in a moment and talk about the real love. But I just want to be very clear that I'm not disregarding the need of love. I know it's a human necessity, but you're not just a human. That's the confusion and that's the misinterpretation. And people go, well, we all need love. Yeah. The need of love is just for you to survive and exist. But you're not just a human, you're a human being. We forget the being part. You're a being. Being. Someone look that up in a dictionary and tell me what that, I don't even know. I haven't looked it up. But what is being? Right? So when you realize we're a human being, that the love that you experience in your being is the real love. The love that you're experiencing from your humanness is the need to be loved. And every time you experience love that you need, guess what? You need more of it. It's very similar to a drug addict, right? You receive something, but then whatever the drug is that you're receiving or you're injecting or you're taking or whatever, but you soon become numb to that and you need a bigger dose, right? To get the same high, to get the same hit, you need a more dosage of it. It's the same with love. And I categorize the need of love into 4 or 5 different areas. We continuously are doing things in order to get recognition. And tell me what you feel when you have recognition. You feel love. But again, that is the need of love. We are continuously looking to do things or be the person that we need to be in order to be accepted. Well, what do you feel when you feel accepted? You feel love. Do things and again, be the person that you need to be in order to get approval. Very similar to accepted. So it's like recognition, acceptance, approval, and we're looking to feel safe, security. So we are driven from need to attain. And a lot of your goals and a lot of the things that you want in your life are secretly or unconsciously driven in order for you to get recognition. I mean, recognition, it doesn't have to be necessarily a positive thing. It doesn't necessarily mean you got likes on Instagram, right? It doesn't mean you won the gold award, you know? And by the way, athletes will know this. You know, they're getting lots of recognition when they're winning, but when they retire, some of them go into depression. Okay, I mean, there's a reason, and that's another conversation. So here we go. So you've got this recognition. Sometimes recognition could be you being a victim. A victim, you know, you don't have enough money. Sometimes we set our lives up unconsciously in order not to have money because we want to be accepted because the people around us are all whinging and complaining about no money and how we are victims of the government or the country or whatever. And I'm not here to say you are or not, but by you being in the same boat as everyone else, you feel accepted. Sometimes you don't want to become wealthy because you think to yourself, if I became wealthy, they wouldn't approve of me. So again, you know, the love that I'm talking about here is not just romantic, and we can talk about romantic love as well. It falls in here. This is just everyday things. You're looking for recognition. You're looking for appreciation. You're looking for acceptance. You're looking for the approval of others, and you're looking for security. Now, security, you think to yourself, well, what's security got to do with love? Well, what do you feel when you are in love? You know, when you first fall in love, it's like you fall in love with this person. It's suddenly You feel safe.
Mm.
There's a safetyness. You know, it's like you and me against the world, baby. Like it's like doesn't matter what's happening. Doesn't matter we have no money. Doesn't matter we've got each other. And that makes us feel safe. We might not have no money and we might feel unsafe about not having money, but as long as we got each other, that's what matters because we feel safe. So you see, all these 5 things are just they're examples of just everyday forms of love that we're looking to attain because we need it. Now, do you really need it? Well, yes, you do until you begin to become somewhat self-aware, present, and conscious. Then you realize that love that you needed, you had it all along. And this is far deeper than self-love, and I'm going to get into it in a moment. But let's just quickly also, since we're talking about love, I know lots of people go, well, what about romantic love? I feel like I want to find somebody to love and somebody to love me, and I want to find somebody to love, which is, again, fair enough. However, in a lot of circumstances, in a lot of relationship, what I'm sharing with you does not necessarily mean oh my goodness, that is exactly what I'm doing and now I need to break up my relationship. I'm not saying that. You know, you don't need to change anything. The only thing you need to do is wake up. Wake the fuck up. Become somewhat self-aware. Because what we always look at what we need to do or undo, which is your human part. You know, the human part is always like if you're not interpreting or connecting with your being part, if your being and human is not connecting together, becoming the yin and yang, you know, the internal and the external world, if that is not happening, you always become a human doing rather than human being. It's like, what do I need to do or not do? What should I eat? What should I not eat? It's always looking at what I need to do. So please understand what I'm sharing with you is not necessarily, you know, I might share something right now about relationship and people go, oh my God, I'm in the wrong relationship. That's exactly what I'm doing. So I should break up. So no, you should wake up, not break up. Now, don't get me wrong. In some circumstances and some people, when I'm about to share, you'll realize things and that might be something that it will eventuate. I'm not here to say that. But please don't be quick to jump into what do I need to do. All right? It's like, well, it's not what you need to do. It's who you need to become. Gandhi said that we need to be the change that we want to see in the world. Now take the world, and just change it to your world. Right? If you want to change your relationship, if you want to change your world, the first and most important thing before you initiate that change is to be that change. Now, for some people, it's like, what does it even mean? Well, hang in there. Let's continue to explore this. I talk about this in one of my events that I used to run before called the WTF. The wisdom, truth, and freedom. By now, you know I love my acronyms. Everything is, ACE, the WTF. I have FTW as well, which is free the world, not fuck the world. But the WTF stands for the wisdom, truth, and freedom. So anyway, in the WTF, I talk about this and I want to kind of highlight this one part. And I talk about when two people are looking for a relationship. They're looking for the one. I'm looking for the one. That's a common phrase that is used. I'm just looking for the one, my soulmate, they call it, right? Again, not disregarding any of that, but just hanging there, okay? So what happens is that, it falls into a need to be in a relationship when you feel uncomfortable or you feel discomfort with you being by yourself. If you feel uncomfortable in your own silence, in your own undoing or not doing, sometimes we make ourselves so fucking busy because we don't want to stop. Because if we stop, we will meet ourselves. And some people are more afraid than that than anything else in the world. They don't want to meet themselves. So if you feel uncomfortable with yourself, with your own silence, and we describe it as I'm bored. My kids are going through this thing at the moment right now. Daddy, I'm bored. I'm bored. Like it's just like the cool thing to say. I'm bored, even though we're doing something. I'm bored, Daddy. But boredom is an illusion, right? Boredom is, you create the experience of experiencing boredom in order to avoid stopping and being still. Because in the undoing or the not doing, I don't know how else to phrase this, right? In the stillness, right? You could be completely present and be experiencing complete awe and joy in doing nothing, right? And that's someone who has comfort or has a deeper connection and has some awareness of themselves and who they are in this moment. Most others would avoid being still or stop doing because they are running away from themselves. So they feel uncomfortable in their relationship with themselves. So, and then what's this got to do with relationships? So what happens is then you look for someone. So there is a void in you. You interpret this as a void, as though there's something missing, something feels incomplete about yourself. And then there's this drive to find someone to love you, find someone that you could love. And you find someone who loves or feels the void that you've been experiencing in yourself. Do you understand? So you connect with someone, you go, oh, I found the guy, I found the girl, whatever it is that you're into, right? And you think to yourself, you interpret it as, I love them. Why do you love them? Because I feel so complete when I'm with them. Why do you feel so complete when you're with them? Because they fill up the void, the emptiness that you feel in yourself. In other words, maybe they're loving a part of yourself that you haven't yet loved. So when you're both together and they feel that emptiness or that void that you've been perceiving, you then feel full and you go, I feel love. And it's when I'm with them that I feel so full. And then you say, I love you. This is how it is, right? Now, again, nothing wrong with that. I get it. The two become one. It's amazing. Okay. But let's forward this a few years. Right? And when you feel full when you're together, you feel like, oh, I love you, right? But here's the thing. Do you love them or do you need them? Because love, the real love, doesn't need it. And if you think yourself, well, if it doesn't need, what is it then? It loves. You just found someone who loved a part of you that felt empty. Now because they love that part of you, you feel full. You then say to them, I love you because you make me feel great. But my question to you is, do you love them or do you need them? Do you need them to be the person that they are, to continue to treat you the way they are, continue to be there the way they are, continue to love the part of you that is a void in order for you to feel love? That's not for me to answer. It's just a question that I'm posing. Are you in love with them, or are you in need of them? In need for them to continue to love you so that you can be happy, so that you can experience love. You see, that definitely is not the real love. Because one thing I know about the real love is that the real love doesn't have reason. It doesn't have need. It doesn't have an agenda. So now this is really powerful in our human developments because we're learning about the real love. It's the two people coming together to experience the real love, but between the two. But the real love is not, it's not yours to have unless you're experiencing it for yourself. In other words, we continuously look for a relationship to find the one, not realizing that we are here to find the one in us. The one is you. You know, in the movie The Matrix, I love that movie. Neo was, they were saying he was the one. But he had to realize that he was the one himself. So what does it mean to realize that you are the one? You want to have that relationship that you're looking to have with another in order to fill a void that you feel in yourself. You want to have that relationship in yourself. You want to have that relationship with yourself. And in order to do that, you need to meet yourself where you feel empty, where you feel like there's something missing and there's a void. Now, what happens when you realize that love, or you realize that you are the one that you've been looking for? Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's when you are free to love. Because now, if you are in a relationship, you no longer need them to love a part of yourself that you once had missing. You no longer need them to love you in order for you to be yourself. You no longer need them to love you in order for you to feel love. So what does that mean? If you no longer need it, it means now you're free to receive it. Because when you needed it, all you were experiencing, even if they loved you, completely, wholeheartedly they loved you, all you would experience is the need of that love. Why? Because you needed it. But when you no longer need it because you have found it for yourself first. In other words, you're happy, you're fulfilled. You're not coming to the relationship in order to find fulfillment, in order to find happiness. That is one motherfucking powerful relationship. Because the two are not coming together to become one. The two are already the one, and they're coming to play. They're coming to love each other. And the love that you receive there, you receive completely because you don't need it. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that to me is what I call conscious relationships. Okay? But this is why I say, well, don't jump the gun and think, oh, well, I need to break up with my partner because that's not what I have. But they are teaching you that right now.
Yeah.
You know, it's a journey. And some people are like, oh, it's easier said than done. Yes, you're right. And it's a journey. And in my experience, the relationships that I've had up to this point have always been teaching me parts of myself. They've been by loving the part of myself that I had missing, I felt love. But guess what happened? And this is what I was going to say before. Take that a few years forward and they stopped loving that part of me.
Mm.
You know, they changed. And I think to myself, oh, yeah, they've changed. No, they haven't changed, right? And they might have in the story, I'm not sure here. But generally, it's because their role is to love that part of you. You experience the fullness of that, and then for them to take that love back away.
Mm.
Why? So you can find it for yourself. You know, for me, relationships are very, very powerful. They're continuously teaching you. You know, we say that life is happening for you; it's not happening to you. Well, in a relationship, there are things that there's roles that they're playing to teach you. What are they teaching you? Who are you?
Mm.
That love is not coming from me. Now, this is all happening unconsciously. That love that you're looking for, you have it in yourself. The question is, are you willing to find it?
Mm.
And are you willing to realize it?
Yeah.
And what happens generally in that scenario is that, you know, that in that relationship is they go, oh, they've changed. Because I used to feel a lot of love, but now I don't feel it because they're not loving the part of them that felt empty before.
Mm.
And then the emptiness comes back up. And then you think to yourself, well, maybe I need to find another relationship. I need to find someone who treats me this way and gives this to me. And what you're really saying is it treats you this way and gives this to you in order for you to feel love where you haven't loved yourself yet.
Mm-hmm.
And guess what? You'll probably find it. And then a year later, and if you're lucky, only 3 months later, 6 months later, it changes. And you realize, shit, I keep repeating the same pattern, or I keep having the same relationship. I keep attracting the same type of partner. Yes, because you still haven't got it.
Yeah.
You still haven't realized that you don't find the one. You realize that you are the one.
Mm.
And sorry, you were going to say something, Chrissy.
No, it's okay. You go. or no, what I was going to say is that this goes for everything. It's not, and I love the example of it being with relationships is such an easy one to relate to, but I'm just thinking like it's your relationship with your business, it's your relationship with your children, it's your relationship with your health, and it's the same in all of those, what you're talking
Absolutely.
about. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And the reason I use the romantic relationship because everyone wants to know about that. And it's a great reference point, but you're bang on like that. It got to do with everything. If you are driven by love, and remember, love doesn't have an agenda, nor does it have a reason.
Mm.
Love just is. The real love just loves. If you ask a kid who's just found their passion in whether they're an athlete or some kind of creative source or whatever it is, and you ask them, hey, you're really good at that. Why do you love doing that? And they go, I don't know. I just fucking love it. What are they saying? I don't know. Okay, they might not say fucking. I'm just using that for impact. All right. I don't know. How many times have you said, I don't know, I just love it? How many times have you said, I don't know, I just know? Why? Because love doesn't have reasons.
Mm.
And you can't even find the reason of why you love it. You just absolutely love it. There's just love. And that love is your greatest force.
Mm.
And as you become that love and become that person as a human being, I mean, that right there is the real power.
Mm.
We think the power is found in the story, in what you've accomplished, in your credibility and, what people think of you and whether you got accepted and recognized. And that's not power.
Mm.
That power is a drop. And the real power is the entire ocean. That's the real love is the entire ocean. And you've been playing around with a drop amongst the ocean, thinking, wow, look at all this power. Look what people think of me. Look at all the love I'm getting from people.
Mm.
So, again, I just want to make this clear. When you're not coming from need, you're now free to love and you're free to receive love.
Mm.
Before, you weren't receiving love. You were free to receive the need. It's very, very limited. It's like, finally, God, somebody loves or approves of me. Like, why are you so concerned for others to approve of you? Why? Why do we need the approval of others so much? I get it. Like, it's a common thing.
Mm.
Because you don't approve of yourself.
Mm.
Because if you truly approved of yourself, you wouldn't be so concerned if someone approved of you or not. Why are we so concerned if someone accepts you or not? Again, because you haven't yet accepted who you are.
Mm.
You haven't accepted yourself. And therefore, you're yearning for that from others, from the external world. Why are we so yearning for security? Whether that's financial security or however else you feel safe. Because you feel unsafe in yourself.
Mm.
Now, when you feel safe in you, and there's only one way to feel safe in you, love. Right? Real love. When you feel safe in you, then you can build whatever empire you like because it's not driven by need. When it's driven by need, you might become really successful in building an empire, but you still feel like it's not enough. You've built this empire, but you need to build 2 more empires to make this empire feel safe. You know what I'm talking about? It's never enough.
Mm.
Because you got to go to the core of this. Why do you feel unsafe? Why do you feel unloved? Why haven't you loved you? You know that baby that came into this world that was once Christina? You need to love that soul.
Mm.
You need to love that.
Mm.
So the real love, and look, I've focused this conversation more about what is not the real love. I haven't really gone into what is the real love. I think
we might have to do a part 2.
maybe,
on
but
love
I
here.
also
Yeah.
I'm all up for that. But I also feel that people ask me, well, how do you know this stuff?
Mm.
Who taught it to you? I just fucking think about it. I mean, when I say I think about it, I don't I don't think about it in a way where it's just head noise, internal dialogue. They say we have 60 to 80,000 thoughts a day, and 95% of those thoughts are the same thoughts of yesterday. And then we wonder why we repeat the same patterns over and over again. I'm not talking about those thoughts. I'm talking about real thinking, real creative thinking, where I pose a question and I don't look for the answer. Most people ask a question and they look for the answer somewhere. I let the answer come to me. I let the answer tap me on the shoulder and I realize it or I experience it. The trick is to really think, the real thinking. They say that, 97, 98% of the people actually don't think. It's just repetitive thinking. It's the internal dialogue. There's only, and who says this? I don't know. They've read it somewhere. Only 2 or 3% of the population actually think. Like, I think about this stuff. I ask myself these questions. There is so much more we can talk. You're probably right. We do need a part 2. Because everything I've just spoken about is what is not the real love.
Yeah.
But yeah, what I was going to say is, besides me going into part 2 of this and having this conversation about, well, what is the real love? I was just going to put out to the guys, to the listeners, think. Ask yourself, ponder, wonder. Don't just look to the next book or the next guru or what the religion said. Ask yourself the question. It's quite interesting. I was watching this Nas Daily. You heard of Nas Daily?
Yeah.
I follow him on Instagram. And he was in this video I watched yesterday. He was talking about that, the reason, he obviously does this a great justice of this video, but I'll try. Basically the reason that the trains are okay. Back in the Roman Empire, the reason the roads are so narrow, or the reason they are the size they are, have you been to Rome? Have you been to Positano? Have you been to Italy? Like, they're really narrow roads, right? Is because they were the size of 2 horse asses. So you can pull a carriage and it's 2 horses, right? So I was like, oh, that's interesting. I never knew that, right? And then he goes on about, then the English decided to build, after the horses came trains. They started to build, so all the roads were that narrow. Then they built trains. And they just went with the same thing and built a train as wide as 2 horse asses. So if you think about a train track, right, it's the size of 2 horse asses. Because that's what they knew. So they built, so then the Americans picked up that as well, and they just built the same thing that the English did and built train tracks. And so trains always were that size. So then, trains go through tunnels, and the tunnels are always built the size of 2 horse asses. Then the Americans were wanting to send, rockets up into space, and they needed to ship, the rocket booster or the rocket, the engines or whatever they are, to a different part of America, across America. The only way they could do it was through trains. So they had to build the rocket the sizes of 2 horse asses. Because if it didn't fit on the trains, it wouldn't be able to go through the train tunnels. And so the rockets that's why they are those sizes.
Wow.
Right? So anyway, he goes on and he's like, there's so much, the whole point of his story is that there's so much that we have today, our thinking and what we build, and which has nothing to do with today. These are just things that were passed on. Like, imagine trains were like, 4 times its width. Like, we would have fit more people on the trains. But that's what they did. They just passed it on. So the whole point of his video is like, well, how many things have just been passed on, whether it was just religion, whether it was, something with, it could be culture, and I get it, culture and religion, and I understand some of these things are very important. I get it. But have you ever asked the question, why? Like, do you ever ask? There's so much in our life that we do because that's the way it is. That's the culture. That's society. Do you ever ask why? Well, that's the difference between some of you and myself. I ask a lot of why. And more important for me is not why, but who. Who? And that question of who is who am I? And what's my role in all this? And that's a far deeper question. But, that's, people ask me, well, how do you come up with this stuff? I ask the questions, but I'm asking the questions to myself. I'm not looking for the answer in the next book, in the next seminar. And I get it. There's lots of books and seminars that, are very profound and very helpful for you in your life. And of course, I'm all for that. But this is the question to the meaning of life and what's true freedom and true happiness and what's going to allow you to be your infinite version of yourself, your greatest version. That's what we're here to do. We're here to be the greatest version of yourself. Like, no one can teach that. You got to start realizing that. That's why I said, sure, we can do a part 2. But most important thing I could tell the viewers or the listeners here is, ask yourself the question, why? Why do I do that?
Yes, and I feel like when you're talking about that thinking, something that really came up for me is, where is love? And you always say love's essence is in the present moment. So when you said you ask yourself those questions, but you don't look for the answer, it's just, I just want to share that with our listeners, that how present you are to then receive that response for yourself. So maybe that we'll get more into that in part 2, but love's essence is in the present moment.
Absolutely. And when you're in the moment, it finds you. They say love finds you. You don't find it, right? So it finds you. Well, love's essence, as you just said there, Christina, is in the moment, is in the now. So when you're in the now, that's where it finds you. But when you're not, because you've got too much head noise, too much dialogue going on, and you're not in the now, then it's there. It's trying to find you, but you're not there. You're not home. Nobody's home, baby. Nobody's home.
Yes. Oh, I can feel there's definitely a part 2 here, but I also just want to share with everyone that there's an app that they can also go to. We are releasing an app, so by the time this comes out, you can go to our app, and we're still deciding on the name of that app, I think, or have we landed?
Well, it's funny because we're recording this, today's August the 10th, and by the time you guys are listening to this, we have a few up our sleeves. Christina and I do recordings 2 or 3 times a week. Plus, I do other recordings with the AZ Connects as part of this podcast, where I connect and interview other people. By the time this is released, we think that the podcast, not the podcast, our new app will be released. So we hope that app will give you some more insights into some of the things that I talk about. Like a lot of things I talk about is self-awareness, self-realization, the real love. Like a lot of that, you need to have a direct experience of yourself. Otherwise, it's just like, what's he talking about? And this app is designed to bring a community together and help people on their journey to self-realization. Now,
yes.
we don't know what it's called, but by the time you're listening to this recording, I'm sure the name of the app will be clear. Just start looking for, when you're listening to this podcast, hit us up and go, where's the app? Just call it the app.
The app.
We will know what you mean if you're emailing us at askaz@amirzoghi.com, which is this is how we keep in communication with our listeners. If you're emailing us and going, hey, where's the app? We'll know exactly what you're talking about.
Exactly, yeah. And that the app is going to have a great meditation for everyone to have a direct experience of what Amir is sharing today. So stay tuned for that. And we appreciate you all listening in today and all of the feedback. We've been getting emails, we've been getting new subscribers, and it's just great to hear from you all. And so please, again, you can email us with any feedback, any questions, and you're looking for the app, whatever it is, at askaz@amirzoghi.com. So thanks for tuning in today, and we will see you on the next episode.
Amazing. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.